A pleasure to meet y'all at last, and well, today it's February 21st, and from the way that I've seen things happen, there's a lot that we're going to have to learn to overcome over time. And this is just coupled with the many things that have already taken place. But in terms of at least giving out a rather positive update about things as they are, I feel like that I'm in a much better place now than I ever was throughout any part of last year. And because we're already getting pretty close to March, it just so happens that plans of all sorts are all over the place. But although I was able to complete some of them and even achieve a few goals here and there that I've been looking forward to achieving over time, this is basically just the kind of plan that I have set in motion for the rest of the entire year. And maybe now we can probably go ahead and talk a little bit more about that as opposed to what has taken place already. And so, it's a lot like what I've mentioned last year, especially in accordance with the many things that I had set in mind. And we certainly can't forget about the lots and lots and lots of content that had shown up on YouTube throughout 2021. And the same thing has happened in 2020, 2019, 2018, especially those years in particular. But now I've come back today to let you know exactly what I'm going to pretty much set in stone for 2022. Mostly on account of the different goals that I will have to learn to complete. And then, of course, with a bunch of other unique tasks that are in place at this point. I've already discussed a lot of the new content that will be arriving on YouTube within the next several months, especially when it comes to the more recent franchises that I've started. Films I should have talked about years ago, as well as some of the more recent Hot Wheels Hilarity tangents, Nerf Secrets Revealed tangents, Gaming with Kaiju Force Neo tangents, and many more. Of course, they're going to pretty much carry on well into this entire year, because in a couple weeks I will in fact be starting a new series relative to films I should have talked about years ago, which is actually going to talk about films that I have talked about back then. But don't worry, because an official Season 2 of films I should have talked about years ago will also come around pretty soon. It'll be a while before I even put that together, but until then, I can assure you that I will have it done. And for Season 3, I'm not so sure at this point. It might take a lot more work than just a simple pieces in mind to put together on a piece of software. Then, of course, we can't forget all the GWK tangents that I have planned, including a bit of an expansive idea based on what I already did with Uncharted, the Nathan Drake collection, where I made an entire new tangent of GWK last year, known as the Nathan Drake Triage, where I basically played through all 3 games of the Nathan Drake collection, plus some bonus clips from Uncharted 4, or Uncharted Online, I should be more specific. Because this year I actually do plan on doing some more stuff like that. As a matter of fact, this coming spring, there is going to be a Dead Rising based series known as Frank West's Undead Trek. And then, of course, we have GWK Recollected, which is about to come to an end. Then Recollected Part 2 will show up. And then we also can't forget about the fact that I will, in fact, be doing the 2-hour specials again this summer. I also have a 3rd season of Megapix Weekly, believe it or not. Because it just so happens there's a lot of other things going on right now that I all of a sudden now have the urge to try this out. And I'm not so sure exactly how it's going to play, but I'm going to see what I can do to get as much of this kind of work as I can. Although if there's one big thing out there that will in fact get in the way, it's a huge thing. It's the fact that I now have part-time work in the late night hours. Yeah, that's right. Right during the wee hours of each and every morning from this point on up until the time I decide to either resign or, well, allow myself to get fired. I pretty much have myself my own night shifts taking place, in accordance with a new job that I was able to start not too recently. And so with that in mind, there's a lot of schedule changes, routine changes, and lots of other things out there. And so all of this time that I've been able to put together some new content is only because I have been able to do it before time. Because now here in 2022, where I will in fact be putting a lot more of my time towards actual paid work as opposed to what's happening here, which is supposedly going to be paid work as well, but it just seems like I'm never even going to get there. I don't know how it's going to work, but this is just pretty much how it is. I now have myself a part-time job that may in fact be in the wee hours of each and every morning, but when you really think about it, it could turn into a full-time job, and because it pays so well, I've practically done the math on the whole entire thing. It turns out that it's going to allow me to get a salary that will in fact be worth each and every waking moment that I spend over there. And so, I probably won't be going too much into the details on this job exactly, but it's a lot of hard work. There's a lot of hours I have to work each and every week. But in the end, I do get paid absolutely well as opposed to every other job I've had combined. Yeah. If you think that's crazy, then well, I don't know what else is. But in any case, I feel like that's the main point that I want to talk about here. And I do intend on keeping this job for as long as I can, pretty much. There's a good chance that I might actually be able to go into college thanks to the unbelievable hourly that I'm getting from this new job. And so, having a job plus a lot of college work is really going to limit my time on how I spend on all of this. But in the end, I can make time happen. I can make time so this way I can adjust to having both this and everything else in my life. I do in fact want to have a full-time career set in motion, a huge collegiate degree, and a good amount of other things. But a lot of that is going to require lots of preparation, lots of money, and lots of education and learning. So, it just seems by this point in time that I feel like I have my own sort of turning point where I can finally make this stuff happen. But then again, considering a lot of the other things that have happened in the past several years, with a lot of the different terminations to plans that were in fact set in stone. And of course, we certainly can't forget about the time that I went ahead and moved all the way out to the state of Oregon, in a small city called Beaverton. And I've talked a little bit about this elsewhere. I feel like this might not be the only time that I'll talk about this thing in particular, because it's such an ordeal that had happened that I feel like it's a lot of change to take place. If it weren't for that one moment in my life where I decided to move out, then I'm more than sure a lot of things would have happened differently in my life. Much differently than what I had originally planned. But for right now, this is just pretty much my take on things as they are. And more importantly, for me to discuss a lot of the things out there that are going to be done and will in fact be accomplished. I will hopefully have more stuff to come as well. But in the end, I will be doing lots of work out there that will in fact allow me to have lots of money on hand and lots of time for me to get to know about what the future holds for me. And so with that in mind, if you want to see more, go down to my channel, then make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.